Let me get one thing straight, I've been driving trucks for over 18 years. Coast to coast. Day and night. I've seen some weird stuff on the road, freak weather, animals running out of the fog, people doing dumb things in the middle of nowhere. But what happened to me on a stretch of I-40 in New Mexico still messes with my head. I haven't told many people about it. Hell, I don't even tell it the same way twice because I'm still not sure what really happened. But I'm going to tell you everything exactly as I remember it. It was late October. I was running a haul from Barstow, California, to Oklahoma City. Tight schedule, solo drive. I'd been on the road about 9 hours straight when I pulled off for gas around 2:15 a.m. at one of those dimly lit truck stops in the middle of nowhere. Not even a real town, just desert and that low hum of emptiness you feel when you kill the engine. After fueling up, I grabbed a coffee and a sandwich. I was debating whether to push through or nap for a few hours when I saw him. A guy. Mid-30s, tall, lean, wearing a worn army jacket and jeans. He stood near the on-ramp, under one of those flickering orange sodium lights. No sign, no bag. Just standing there. Watching. I'm not in the habit of picking up hitchhikers, especially not in the middle of the night, but something about him made me hesitate. Maybe it was the way he looked straight at me when I came out of the gas station. Like he already knew I'd be stopping. I opened the passenger side door and called out, "You heading east?" He nodded and climbed up without a word. We drove in silence for a while. I figured he'd say something once he got settled. But he just sat there staring straight ahead. No phone. No fidgeting. Like he was meditating or something. His boots were dusty like he'd walked a long way, but otherwise he seemed clean. "Come." I broke the silence. "You got a name?" He turned his head slowly and said, "Martin." Then he said mine. "Thanks for the ride, Caleb." I nearly swerved. "I didn't tell you my name," I said. He smiled just a little. "You don't have to. I know who you are." Now, a dozen things ran through my head. Maybe he saw my license plate and looked me up. Maybe he saw my company badge on the dashboard, something. But I hadn't mentioned my name, not once, and my badge was flipped over. I tried to brush it off. "So where you headed, Martin?" He said, "Same place as you." Now, that may sound vague, but when someone says something like that on a dark highway in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't feel vague. Feels wrong. Like he didn't mean Oklahoma City. Like he meant something else. About 20 minutes later, I started feeling off. The road looked normal, but the silence in the cab was heavy. Like the air was thicker. My radio, which was always set to local trucker chatter, was just static. No music, no voices. Just hissing. And Martin, he hadn't moved. Just sat there, his hands folded in his lap, eyes wide open. At one point, I looked over and saw that his lips were moving. Whispering. No sound. I tried to act like everything was fine, but I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled over just past an old rest stop that looked abandoned, cracked pavement, overgrown weeds, no lights. I needed to piss and clear my head. "I'm taking a break," I said. He didn't answer. I stepped out, stretched, walked around the back of the truck. The stars were out, no wind, just the soft crunch of gravel under my boots. I must have been out there maybe 3-4 minutes. When I got back in the cab, he was gone. Door still shut. No sound. I looked around, nothing. I even checked under the trailer, behind the tires. Desert all around me. No way he just walked off without me noticing. I got back in the truck, trying to rationalize it. That's when I saw something on the passenger seat. A folded piece of paper. I opened it. Just one sentence, written in perfect block letters. "You should have died on Highway 93 last winter." My stomach dropped. Because he was right. Last winter, I'd spun out on black ice near Kingman. My rig had gone sideways, flipped twice, and somehow I walked away with just a few broken ribs. The paramedics said it was a miracle. Nobody else knew the full story. Nobody but me. I'd never even told my wife the details. So who the hell was Martin? I drove the rest of the night without stopping. Didn't sleep till the next day, when I parked in a crowded Walmart lot with every light on around me. Sometimes I tell myself it was a dream, or that I hallucinated it from exhaustion. But the paper, I kept it. Still have it. No one's handwriting I recognize. And every time I try to throw it away, it ends up back in the glove compartment. No joke. That's the story. I don't know if Martin was a ghost, an angel, or something worse. But I know what I saw. And I know he knew me. I didn't sleep right for days after that night on I-40. The paper Martin left behind kept finding its way back into my truck. Once I tucked it under my mattress in a motel outside Amarillo. Next morning, I found it folded neatly in the cup holder beside my gearshift. Another time, I tossed it into a trash bin behind a diner in Tulsa. 20 minutes later, it slid out of the AC vent and landed on the passenger seat. By the third time I stopped trying. I folded it carefully, put it in my glove box, and slammed the lid shut. Some part of me believed that keeping it there might trap whatever was attached to it, or whatever was attached to me. I didn't tell anyone. Not my dispatcher. Not the guys at the loading dock who always asked about the weirdest stuff I'd seen on the road. Not even my ex-wife, who still called once in a while just to make sure I hadn't driven off a cliff. Instead, I drove. I kept moving. Miles felt safer than hours. Sleep became something I took in 20-minute bursts at rest stops with plenty of light and at least 2 other trucks nearby. I stopped listening to music. Talk radio felt pointless. Silence, complete silence, was the only thing I could handle. Because here's the truth. Martin's voice? I kept hearing it. Not in my dreams, in the white noise. It started with the CB radio. Even when it was off, sometimes I'd hear a faint hum. Then words. Barely audible, like someone whispering through thick cotton. You should have died. The same phrase, always the same, drifting in and out of static. It came through the speakers, the air vents, even the hum of my phone charger. Sometimes I'd slam the brakes and kill the engine right there on the shoulder just to see if the sound would stop. It wouldn't. Not right away. It would trail off like it was giving me a moment to breathe before coming back louder. I tried switching trucks once, rented a boxy, older rig from the company yard in Kansas City. Different cab, different electronics, no trace of the previous incident. I didn't even move my gear over. Just clothes, food, and my logbook. First night on the road, heading through Missouri, I stopped at a Shell station off Highway 65. Got a coffee, leaned against the hood to stretch my back. When I opened the door to get back in, there he was, sitting in the passenger seat. Same jacket, same boots, same blank expression. I didn't scream. I didn't move. My blood felt like it had frozen in place, not from fear, but from a sense that nothing I did now mattered. He turned his head slowly and looked at me. You keep driving, he said, voice like sandpaper and static. Why? I asked. He didn't blink. Because if you stop, it finds you. I swallowed. What is it? His lips twitched into a smile. You'll see. And then he was gone. Not disappeared in a flash. Just gone. No sound, no motion, just empty air where a man had been sitting. The seat wasn't even indented. Like he'd never been there. But I knew what I'd seen. I could still smell his jacket, that damp earth scent, like rain on hot asphalt and rusted metal. I didn't report the incident. Who would I tell? The police? My employer? A therapist? Even if I could find the words, I wasn't sure I wanted to know what they'd call it. Psychosis. PTSD. Sleep deprivation. Maybe they'd be right. Maybe I was losing it. But deep down, I knew something else was happening. I wasn't hallucinating. I wasn't dreaming. I was being followed. The next week, things escalated. On a cold, gray afternoon outside Flagstaff, I was parked at a pull-off on an incline. Tall pines on both sides, wind whispering through the needles. I was checking my tires when I saw footprints in the dirt behind the trailer. Not tire marks. Not mine. Boot prints. Long stride. Deep heel. Just one set. They trailed around the rear of the truck and stopped at the passenger side door. I stood there for minutes just staring at them. The hairs on my neck stood up. That's when I noticed the glove box was open again. The note was sitting in the driver's seat. But this time something had changed. There was a second sentence underneath. You should have died on Highway 93 last winter. But something else did. I drove all night after that. Didn't stop once. Not for gas, not for food, not even when my bladder screamed at me. I just kept going because for the first time since this started, I understood something I hadn't before. Martin wasn't a ghost. He was a warning. And whatever I'd escaped last winter, it hadn't let go. It had just gone quiet. Waiting. Like a shadow underneath the world. And now it was following the sound of my engine. I don't know what happens next. But I can feel it, something's coming closer. The static's louder now. The shadows outside the cab windows move even when the truck isn't. And last night, parked at a crowded rest stop in Tennessee, I looked out the windshield around 3:17 a.m. Under the amber glow of a faraway street lamp, Martin was standing there. Watching. Not moving. Not blinking. Just waiting. I watched him for nearly 15 minutes. Just standing there under the edge of that flickering street lamp in Tennessee, like a wax figure. Face dull, expressionless, jacket hanging open. Same boots. Same stance. His eyes, though I couldn't see them clearly from inside the cab, felt aimed directly at me. At some point I must have dozed off. Not real sleep, but that half-awake fugue your mind slips into when it just can't keep up anymore. The kind where you're still inside your body, still aware of the creaking plastic of the seat beneath you, but time stretches and frays like worn cloth. I opened my eyes again around 4:03 a.m. The lamp outside was still flickering. Martin was gone. But the passenger door was unlatched. Not open. Not wide. Just unlatched. The tiniest crack of darkness between rubber seal and frame. Like someone had opened it slowly then changed their mind. Or was still waiting for me to notice. I didn't drive the next day. For the first time in years, I called dispatch and told them I was taking personal time. I booked a cheap motel room 5 miles from the truck stop. Shabby, yellowed curtains, old box TV bolted to a fake wood dresser. I checked the locks 5 times. I wedged a chair under the knob like in bad movies. It didn't help. That night, I dreamed of the crash again. Only this time it played differently. I was back on Highway 93. Black ice. Empty dark. The trailer jackknifing, glass exploding. But in this version of the memory, I wasn't crawling out of the cab after the impact. I was watching myself. From the trees. Watching as my broken body bled out across the gravel. Watching the fire catch along the tank line. And in the glow of the flame I saw a shape. Tall. Human-shaped. But wrong. Like a person standing just outside the limits of reality. Like someone who shouldn't be there. I didn't wake up sweating. I woke up cold. The kind of cold that settles in your bones like wet ash. The heater was on full blast. The room was sealed tight. But the inside of my mouth tasted like iron, and my nose bled for nearly 20 minutes. And beside the bed, resting neatly on the worn motel Bible, was the note. Folded once. Now with a third sentence. You should have died on Highway 93 last winter. But something else did. And it's still driving. I left the motel that morning without checking out. Just threw my stuff in a duffel and got back in the truck. Didn't care what route they gave me. I didn't even check my load. I just needed to keep moving. Something was riding with me. Not in the cab. Not physically. But inside the space I occupied. Like a shadow layered over my own reflection. Every time I caught sight of myself in the mirror, I wasn't sure it was just me I was looking at. I was driving east on Route 58, somewhere near the Virginia border, when it happened. Rain started falling around dusk. Thick, heavy drops that blurred the windshield and made the wipers struggle. I slowed to 30, hazards on, every muscle tight. I didn't like weather anymore. Not since the crash. Out of the corner of my eye, through the beads of water tracking across the glass, I saw a figure on the side of the road. Standing still. Facing traffic. No thumb out. No motion. Just waiting. The road curved and for a moment my headlights caught his face. Was mine. Not exactly. Not the way you look in a mirror. But the same eyes. Same mouth. Same scar above the right brow I got when I was 10 and fell off a swing into gravel. And he smiled. Not cruel. Not kind. Just patient. I swerved. Tires screamed. The trailer rocked. I corrected fast, adrenaline snapping through me like live wire. The truck stabilized. I pulled off into the dirt, panting, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles popped. When I looked back, the figure was gone. Not a single footprint in the wet dirt. I sat there for what felt like an hour, engine idling, storm fading. The rain slowed then stopped. The world grew still. One of those quiets you only hear in the aftermath of chaos, like the whole world is holding its breath. I opened the glove box again. The note was gone. But something else had replaced it. A key. Long iron. The kind you'd see in a Victorian house or a church basement. Cold to the touch. Tied to it was a slip of paper, different from the others. One word. Decide. That's when I understood. Back on Highway 93, I didn't just cheat death. Something else died in my place. Something that wasn't ready. And now it wanted back in. It wanted its place returned. But it couldn't take it. I had to give it. I've been driving ever since. No destination. No schedule. Just roads. Asphalt and silence. I don't sleep longer than an hour at a time. I keep moving. Because every time I slow down, I feel it beside me. A second breath. A second shadow. A second me. Waiting. So if you see me out there, CB handles still Caleb. Still in a faded red Peterbilt with a cracked left mirror, don't wave. Don't flash your lights. And whatever you do, don't offer me a ride. Because I'm not sure who'll be in the seat next to you. Or who'll get out when the ride's over. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you like this story.